Om. ॐ सहनाववतु सहनौ भुनक्तु सह वीर्यं करवावहै तेजस्विनावतीतमस्तु मा विद्विषावहै ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः ॐ सदाशिवसमारम्भां शङ्कराचार्यमध्यमाम् अस्मत् आचार्यपर्यन्तां वन्दे गुरुपरम्पराम् ॐ गुरुर्ब्रह्मा गुरुर्विष्णुः गुरुदेवो महेश्वरः गुरुः साक्षात् परं ब्रह्म तस्मै श्री गुरवे नमः ॐ सरस्वती नमस्तुभ्यं वरदे कामरूपिणी विद्यारम्भं करिष्यामि सिद्धिर्भवतु मे सदा
ॐ
कार्पण्यदोषोपहतः स्वभावः पृच्छामि त्वां धर्मसम्मूढचेताः यश्रेयस्यान् निश्चितं ब्रूहि तन्मे शिष्यस्तेऽहं शाधि मां त्वां प्रपन्नम् ॐ वाङ्मे मनसि प्रतिष्ठिता मनो मे वाचि प्रतिष्ठितम् आविर्मयेदि वेदस्य माणिस्तः श्रुतं मे मा प्रहासीः अनेन अधीतेन अहोरात्रान् सन्ददामि ऋतं वदिष्यामि सत्यं वदिष्यामि तन्मामवतु तद्वक्तारम् अवतु अवतु माम् अवतु वक्तारम् अवतु वक्तारम् ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः ॐ भद्रं कर्णेभिः शृणुयाम देवाः भद्रं पक्षे माक्षभिर्यजत्राः स्थिरैरङ्गैः तुष्टुवाग्वं सस्तनूभिः व्यशेम देवहितं यदायुः स्वस्ति न इन्द्रो वृधश्रवाः स्वस्ति न पूषा विश्ववेदाः स्वस्ति न तार्क्ष्यो अरिष्टनेमिः स्वस्ति नो बृहस्पतिर्ददातु ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः ॐ अहं वृक्षस्य रेरिव कीर्तिप्रीष्टं गिरिरिव ऊर्ध्व पवित्रो वाजिनीव स्वमृतमस्मि द्रविणग्वं सवर्सचं सुमेध अमृतोक्षितः इति त्रिशङ्कोर्वेदानुवचनम् ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः
Flawless, Kavita, flawless. Just one piece, right? Savarchasam. That's the only word. Okay, other than that, perfect. Thank you. Narayan, everyone. Amazing. Right, we're getting to the end of this chapter. We'll see agar Bhagwanji wants us to complete it in this class. These are easier shlokas, so we should be able to run through them much faster. Shloka 35. Okay. So we'll start reading. Let's say, Anita, do you want to read?
A connection. The Lord now mentioned 4 entities which, though widely different in nature, are indicative of his sublimity.
Brihat Sama Tatha Samnam.
Brihatasama Tata Samnam.
Gayatri Chandasamaham.
Gayatri Chandasamaham.
Masana margashirshonam.
Masana margashishonam.
Shirshoham.
Shishoham.
Ritunam kusumakaraha.
Ritunam kusumakaraha.
Go ahead and read.
Among the Sama mantras, I am Brihat Sama. Among Vedic meters, I am Gayatri. Among months, I am Margashasha.
Margashirsha.
Margashisha. Among seasons, I am Vasanta, the spring. Entities of different nature, indicative of sublimities. In this shloka, the following entities have been mentioned. Brihasama. This is the part of the Samaveda in which it is propounded the principal method of salvation. It is the composed in a meter called Brihati, the practice of which requires concentration of high order. Being the means of salvation, this part is said to be the itself sublime.
Are you okay if you read through the whole thing? Or do you want to take one by one? Okay. Okay.
So you want to go first, Aish?
Yeah.
So the first thing here, the word to understand is Samved. So what does Samved mean? Samved is basically all the principle Samaved, all the principles, all the bhakti, which is sung in a song format. And there's something very fascinating, if I'm sure all of us have observed it. It is much easier for us to remember the lyrics to a song we've heard 10 times than to a economics theory we've read 10 times on a piece of paper. Right? Song naturally has a way and a depth in which we imbibe the words, which is why no matter what Shastra you read, it is always sung and it has its own meter, right? So even Gita, even Ramcharitamanas, anything that you pick up, you have to sing it in that meter, right? And that subtleness, that a sense of that meter, which we imbibe and internalize, and it's easier for us to internalize, Bhagwanji saying, that is where I sit. That is where you will see me. That's the power of song.
Yeah, and another interesting thing is, right, because there is a meter, even if once you know the meter, even if you've not read something before, you know exactly where to pause, how to read, where to read. For example, Ramcharitmanas, right? 1200 pages book, and so many different dohas and chopais and surat and chand, right? Once you learn the meter of them, and this is, I'm speaking from my personal experience, right? We had last month when there was a Akhand Ramayan. I've never read Ramcharitmanas completely, right? I've done parts of it and, stuff like that. But when we went for the Akhand Ramayana, I'm reading it for the first time. But because I'm familiar with the meters of each of those things, it was so much easier, right? You can actually just read something that you've never read before, and it just falls in place. You know exactly where to stop in each of those aspects, where you have to break, where you don't have to break. It automatically comes when you're doing it. By the time the meter ends, you know that this is the place to stop. It's phenomenal, right? So songs or having a meter makes it easy to memorize as well. You learn faster. You're able to recite in a much better manner. You can recite things perfectly without ever having recited them before. And as Abhinav said, you commit them to memory, right? And Samved is
and so the other thing here to add, right? We read these principles, we read these shastras, we read this and the reason why they're defined in meter is because this is not an intellectual exercise. It is all designed in song in meter format because all of this has been written for us to internalize and for us to implement, right? That's the reason why it's been designed in this format. Sorry.
Another important thing, especially about Sanskrit and the Shastras that have been written in Sanskrit, Sanskrit is a very, very scientific language. Our mantras are pretty scientific, right? So, and we know that mantras are not about meaning. Okay, meaning is assigned to them later on. First of all, and first and foremost, they are a collection of various sounds that are put together. Okay. If you actually learned Sanskrit, even Hindi, right? Like, see the Hindi alphabet and go through every single alphabet. You will see how scientifically it has been designed for every different type of sound that we can create with the various tools we have. Whether it's your tongue or your teeth, your your upper palate, lower palate, your lips. Everything comes together to create diverse set of sounds. And mantras are various types of sounds put together in a specific order. If we pronounce them correctly, they have a great cleansing impact on us by impacting pran. As we understand pran, at a gross level, it is your breath, right? At a gross level, it is breath, but there are so many different subtler meanings of pran that we have read through Gita. But basically, if you read it correctly, your pran gets shuddha, your nadis get purified. That is why Gita chanting is extremely important. That is why we insist that we all learn how to chant it correctly. Chant it, but chant it correctly. That's very important. And the same thing stands for all other shastras, all other mantras that are part of it. It's pretty scientific in nature. Okay. Yeah, I think that's what I really wanted to bring out. Yeah, Kavita.
Yeah. I just want to ask whether this meter, the Brihati is it is rhythm or it is different?
Meter is okay, I'm not really good at classical music at all. I have zero experience there, so take whatever I say with a bit of a pinch of salt. But my limited understanding is meter means how many letters come together, how many syllables come together to craft that meter. Is it a 3-syllable meter, 8-syllable meter, stuff like that? So how many words or how many letters come together before you take a break and then you come to the next one? So meter is one of the underlying factors. Then rhythm comes on top of that, right? So then the same meter can be sung fast or slow, right? So there are two different components of it. But first is the underlying factor is meter. And then using that meter, using rhythm on top of it and other aspects, then you actually create a proper song. Right?
Thank you.
So Brihati is one of the meters. There are so many other meters, right? So Brihati is one of the meters, and Brihat Sam is a part of Samved. All of Samved is sung. It's a collection of songs through which we learn, right? So Brihat Sam is a special part where Bhagwanji's stutis are sung, okay? And it specifically deals with the Parmeshwar in the form of Indra. Okay, and it requires a very, very high amount of concentration to be able to get this right. And so because of the concentration required and what you are learning in that, it leads to salvation if you do it right. So hence that small part of Samaved, he says that I am that part of the Vedas. I'm Brihat Sam amongst all the Vedas. Yeah, Kakuli.
I'm sorry if I'm asking a wrong question, but Bhagwanji is telling Arjuna that this is I. I mean, he's giving every example where he manifests, and he said initially, you said that because it is so vast, he will not give everything. He will just give the specifics. But why didn't he tell Arjuna, I'm everything, I'm this world? It was just one sentence because he is everything. He's just not the Gayatri mantra. He is even the Mahamrityunjay mantra. He's just not Tuhina. He's also Kavita out there. So why didn't he say, I'm this world, I'm everything you see out here, instead of giving just one example?
So actually, he has told us that very clearly several times, right? Arjun is who? Arjun is you and me, correct? We've gone through 10 chapters. Every chapter he repeats that I am the source, I am the prabhav of everything that you see. Creation, living beings, non-living things. I am the seed of everything that you see in this world, right? He said this again and again. So it isn't as if he hasn't said it. But tell me from your experience, do you actually, well, you know it intellectually, right? You've heard it so many times. Are you actually able to practice it when you go out there in the world? Every single second? No, right? So he's speaking to you. You are the Arjun. Okay? And our consciousness is pretty gross. Because our consciousness is so gross, our ability to see God everywhere or to be awed by that is very low. Okay? And so we tend to get awed when something goes out of the way. So, you know, you're driving down Bombay Pune highway and you see these small jharnas, small waterfalls. They don't inspire as much amazement as seeing a Niagara Fall does.
Falls, yeah, okay, got it now.
Everybody goes to Niagara Falls. People don't come to Bombay Pune highway during the rains to see, like, you know, yeah, if you're living there, you will do a weekend drive. Nobody will fly down from Singapore to see that, correct? But you will fly down to Niagara Falls to watch that, correct? You don't get awed by a small hillock along the way, but you will get awed when you see Nanda mountain. You get awed when you see the Himalayas skyline, correct? So it is our murta that causes us to be awed only by splendor, which is extraordinary. Ordinary doesn't move us.
Yeah.
And it isn't as if Bhagwanji is not there in ordinary. He's there, as you rightly said. But we don't see it. We don't get moved. We're too dull. We're not experiencing life in its fullness. We're not alive. Most of the time, we sleep through life. We get woken up only when we see something that is extraordinary. You don't hear, you don't get moved. You won't get moved when somebody like me sings, but you will get moved when Lata Mangeshkar sings. It isn't as if like my song does not have Bhagwanji in it, but Lata Mangeshkar will move all of us.
अब तो
Right?
सुनना पड़ेगा तू ना.
Yeah, I got it. Thank you. Yes.
That's why. So he's bringing out the subtleties and he's bringing out the best in each case, saying, this is me. Recognize me when you see those extraordinary aspects in this world. Because that's the only thing we actually see. Everything else just zooms by. We don't even register it. So at least the stuff that you register as something that, oh, okay, you know, you see this whole scenery, most of it is blurred out. You will see only that one thing. You will only notice that one thing. So he says, when you notice that thing, remember me. Okay. Good question. Thank you. Let's go ahead.
Gayatri. This is also a Vedic meter consisting of 3 lines, each containing 8 syllables. In this meter is composed the famous Gayatri mantra, which bears the name of the meter in which it is composed. The meaning of this mantra is also embracing that it is said to be the essence of Vedas, in so far as by imbibing its message, it leads to self-realization. This is why it is considered to be the manifestation of the Lord's sublimity.
So Gayatri again is a meter, like Brihati is a meter. Okay? And we know Gayatri more than anyone else because we all have heard of Gayatri mantra at some point of time in our lives, right? So Gayatri mantra takes its name from the meter on which it's based. But there are several other mantras that are based on the same meter. Now, why he says that he is Gayatri? It's because, one, that meter is special because of the message that Gayatri mantra incorporates. In fact, it is said that you know, when you talk about how the world originated, it says that the world was originated from Bhagwanji's Sankalp, right? Sankalp is a thought, and from thought comes the speech. And that speech was, the word is Om. We've talked about how special the word Om is, and how it's how U and Ma, how it reverberates. It's considered the voice of the universe, right? And from there came Gayatri, and from Gayatri came the meters. From Gayatri came the Vedas. Gayatri is the Janani, the birth of Vedas happens from Gayatri. What does that even mean? It means that the way the mantra has been put together, the special words, the special meaning, if we fully incorporate it, if we pronounce it correctly, and we pronounce it with a full feeling and with full understanding, that basically incorporates the entire message, the entire meaning of the Vedas. It's like having a tablet, right? Instead of eating a lot of food to get all your nutrients in, you can have a small tablet which is power punched packed with all the nutrients in it. Okay.
Margashirsha. Of the 12 months of the year, Margashirsha is regarded as being the supreme importance. This corresponds to the period of December and January in the Georgian calendar. According to Indian astronomy, when the concept of time with its three aspects, past, present, and future, was first identified, the system of reckoning the division of years, months, days, hours, etc., was introduced. At that time, reckoning started from this month. The concept of time is an aspect of the Lord's sublimity, and the month from which its reckoning started is also considered to be his manifestation.
So we understand the meaning of time, right? We've seen the Kshay Kal and the Akshay Kal, both of them as being aspects of the Lord. Now, Margshish, basically we have the Indian calendar, correct? The first month of Indian calendar is Margshish. And when we compare it to our English calendar, it is a part of December and part of January. So apart from the fact that this is the first month of Indian calendar, it is very important, and we celebrate it every year. It is the season, it is the month in which it's the harvesting season, right? So all the grains, whether it's wheat or rice or whatever else, they are all harvested during this time. And these grains sustain life. They are the life-giving element, right? We all eat that. So that's why, and we celebrate it, right? Whether it is through Lohri or Bihu, or take any part of India, every part of India celebrates it in different forms, but they celebrate the same concept. The concept of Anna Devi, that grains are being harvested. It is our way of saying thank you to the world, to the universe, to God, and we celebrate it in different forms, right? Grains are a very, very major part of every celebration in every part of India during this time. So he says, of all the months in the Gregorian calendar, I am Margshish.
So there.
Sorry, not Gregorian.
Yeah. What's that? So two other aspects here between. I'll share only one right now. December, January, which is the rough time where this month happens, is also the time when the Gita was shared. So
Gita was shared.
Yes. When the
Really?
Gita, yes.
I didn't know that.
Yeah. So this is.
Oh, that's why the Gita Jayanti
Correct.
is 14 December. Okay.
Correct. So this is when the Gita was shared as well, and the second aspect which I'll allude to now is, if you feel the energy during this time of the year, it is always a time for everyone to take stock of how the year has gone, to have gratefulness and plan for the next year. That is where all our energies naturally align in December and January. We tend to slow down, we tend to reflect, which is also the time where the Gita was shared. It is also the time where Dhunas and harvesting happens. And the next shloka, which talks about spring, basically you start seeing the fruits of your thinking and your labor 3 months after you've put them in practice. So it's a very important part of the year because it necessarily puts a stop. It's not just a celebration. It's actually a stop for reflection, for giving thanks and being a little more mindful of what you want the next year to be. And that is naturally the state we all find ourselves in, whether we've read the Gita or not. Right? That subtle energy is him. He's asking us, how do we be better next year? And let's put that in practice. And in the next shloka, he'll talk about spring, which is naturally 3 months later, where you start seeing the effects of the change you're bringing into your life. And that's also him.
2 months later.
2 months later.
Vasanta. This season corresponds to spring, in which most of the plants start flowering. The word used in the shloka for the season is kushmaraka, from the Sanskrit word kushma, which means a flower. In human life, symbolically speaking, the subtlest flowering is the emergence of a perception, which leads to self-realization. This is therefore an aspect of the Lord's sublimity.
So spring is also the season which is neither too hot nor too cold. There is no extremity there. It's a middle path, right? Path of moderation. Bhagwanji always talks to us about following the path of moderation in everything we do. So the spring season embodies that, the path of moderation, neither too hot nor too cold. Another interesting thing is this is the season when without any rain, there is a lot of life emerges, right? Whether it is new leaves that are being born, whether it is flowers, it's a season of flowering, right? So it's considered the king of all seasons. Kusumakar, or the Basant Ritu, is the king of all seasons. Hence, he says that of all the seasons, I am the spring. Spring is the one which makes everybody supremely happy, right? If there is life everywhere we follow. That's why it's called the king of seasons. And as is also said, that the subtlest flowering, it represents flowering, right? It represents flowering. Flowering is what? Flowering from a subtle perspective, it is a flowering of perception. The Sahasrar chakra on top of our head is represented as a lotus, as a flower, right? So so basically at a subtle level, he's basically saying that when there is Basant Ritu inside of you, that means the seeds of perception have started to flower up and you're beginning to understand. You're beginning to really understand perception. You're beginning to see unity in diversity. So that is our Basant Ritu happening. Basant Ritu inside of us.
Just to add here, right? If you look at winter when there are no flowers, right? It's a dead branch. Dead branch pe koi aapko, no animals come, no insects come. There's nothing to look at. People walk by. The moment that essence of a flower comes, right? What happens? Your eye goes there. Your thoughts go there. Insects start coming. Bees start coming. Birds fly back from wherever they are to enjoy nectar, to enjoy the shade. So it basically is the essence of bringing all of us together, right? And when we connect this to our journey, that's what will happen to us if we work on our perception. When we do our antakaran ki cleansing, it will naturally result in people drawing towards us, and for us to be able to have that divinity which we can share, shine that light. And that essence is basically Bhagwanji.
Visa Lakshmi, will you read the next one with us?
Okay. The connection, the Lord now speaks of some human insistence.
Dyutam chalaya tamasmi.
Bhutam chalaya tamasmi.
Tejas Tejasvinamaham.
Tejas Tejas
Tejas Tejasvi Namaham.
Tejas Tejasvi Namaham.
Jayomasmi Vyavasayosmi.
Jayo Asmi Swamasmi.
Vyavasayosmi.
Jayo Swamasmi.
Vyavasayo. Vyavasay.
Vivasai
Yosmi.
Vasmi.
Nice. Sattvam Sattvatamaham.
Sattvam Vatamaham.
Nice. Next read.
Among us, chess, I am the gambling, yeah. I am the splendor of the splendent, and I am the supremacy, effect, and perfection of the perfect. Human insistence. Glamming in the shloka, the Lord mysteriously mentioned the sense of glam as is the aspect of his power among us all the tendons of chanting. With all cheating. With all its disastrous consequence, the gambling instincting in a human instant, and its roots lie in the sublimities of existence. The subtle idea is that the experience of the world exists in a human being only so long as the vital power of the prana is endowed with the body. In this scriptures, the world is denoted by the words Sarvamita. All this as among as ignorance last, a human being harbors the illusion of belonging in all this. As realization dawns, this notion of belonging is completely dissolved in the splendor of the self-realization of being all this. In a metaphorical language, this dissolution is a great cheating, great cheating, a bit sublime. By self-realization that leads to the realization of having being under the illusion of belonging. Splendor.
So let's take a pause here. So this is very counterintuitive, right? He's saying, I'm a gambler and I'm the greatest gambler. And among cheats, I'm basically the best, right? Now, it's very important to understand this in the right context. And there's so many layers to it. The very first thing we need to understand is, what does gambling here mean or refer to? It's the essence of putting something at risk for a greater return, right? That's the essence of gambling. And when he talks about, and this is what they've explained in the shloka as well, the greatest gamble that he's done is created this world. And
aham bahusyami, ekoham bahusyami.
He divided himself to create this world with the purpose that we enjoy his creation and come back to him. But the greatest gamble is we can get lost in this world. And we can get lost in the sansar and we can chase everything that we please. And he will have to wait. That is the greatest gamble that he's playing. And that's why he's saying that the essence of it is where I sit. Right?
Another aspect to this is, see, there are all kinds of gambling. What specific type of gamble is he talking about as being his vibhuti? And if you actually read Upanishads, right? In Upanishads, there is a nishedh on gambling. It's considered a wrong thing to do. It's supposed to be one of the things that you're not supposed to indulge in. And yet he's saying, I am that instinct behind the gambling. Okay, I am that instinct. It's a human instinct, right? We all want to gamble. So there are two types of gambling. There is one type of gambling, which is the nishedh in your Upanishads, which says don't gamble, is the type when gamble takes over us, when we are not in control any longer. Okay. As Abhinav correctly specified, gamble means being able to take a risk for greater return. It is a calculated risk. Very important. Calculated risk taken correctly in a way that that risk does not overpower us. That bet does not overpower us. We know when to stop and when to carry on with that risk, with that bet. Is the type of gamble that Bhagwanji says is me. That instinct in you comes from me. Recognize me. Now you start to see how and where you see that at a smaller level from Bhagwanji, it reflects in us in our daily life. At a business level, we take risks every day, right? Every business takes a risk. And that risk is always calculated risk. There are bets that will pay off, there are bets that will not pay off. At what stage do you cut it off and don't continue to go on, right? Versus what, so basically that concept is Bhagwanji's vibhuti. Right now, Facebook betting on metaverse. At some stage, if you're what's his name? Facebook's founder? Zuckerberg, yeah. So at what stage does Zuckerberg get carried away where investors had to step in and do so much of activism to get him to stop it, right? So there is that fine line when you are on this side of the thing where this idea or this bet hasn't overpowered you and you're able to cut the losses when it's required, is his instinct. You see it in stock trading. A good trader is one who does not get married, who does not get attached to the bets he's taking. He's able to cut it off at the right time. That is the best trader. He's the one who makes profits. The guy who's unable to get detached from the bets he takes, is not able to take calculated risk, will never be in profit. Okay, so that's the type of gamble that he's taken. So then he did not.
So just to add here, right? Your capacity to take risk is directly proportionate to your faith in Bhagwanji, right? That's the essence of what allows you to take that risk.
And also the discernment to which risk to take. You can't take every risk.
And that is why in the next shloka they talk about Vyavasayatmika
buddhi.
Vyavasayatmika buddhi, the business-minded intellect. Yeah. Right? That's what they refer to. They go hand in hand. But for you to tap into your ability to take risk, necessarily you need to have faith in Bhagwanji. And that essence is where Bhagwan sits. Yeah. He connects the two. Yeah. And the whole world, like I mentioned, the creation of it is a risk. It's a gamble that Bhagwanji has taken. So necessarily that essence exists in all of us. And we take a risk on a regular basis on everything that we do.
Yeah, but there are two important aspects to this, right? For this to be the right, I'll take that question after this. The two important aspects to this risk. One, calculated risk. You don't take uncalculated, silly, foolish risks, right? Calculated risks. And second, there is detachment with the object of the bet. Very important. If these two things are not there, then you are under control of that bet. Then this is not Bhagwanji's vibhuti, okay? And it does not lead to your welfare. So these two are very important aspects. Now, how has Bhagwanji taken that gamble? One, he has made sure that irrespective of how long you take, he has given us this assurance. Once you're in this, everyone will lead back to me eventually. Some will come back through the shorter journey. Others will take a very long journey of 84,000 crore yonya. Okay, but ultimately every single person will come back to me. How does he ensure that? He ensures that through 4 ways, right? If you see Vishnuji is shown with 4 hands, right? In his Saumya form, Krishnaji in his Saumya form is shown with 4 hands. The 4 hands hold 4 things: Kamal, Shankh, Gada, and Chakra. What do these represent? So, and this is how Bhagwanji ensures that we stay on track however long it may be, but eventually you will come back. So he has taken a bet, but he has put things in order to make sure that we stay the course. Kamal represents telling us softly. So when you learn from someone else's mistake, you read books, you listen to people give you advice, you absorb it, you analyze it, do manan chintan on that, you do nidhi dhyasan, and then you learn in a simpler manner. Your parents tell you something, your colleagues tell you something, your boss tells you something, right? You learn from others without you getting lost. Like, you basically learn in an easy manner. That is Kamal. Bhagwan ji aapko softly ek Kamal se aapko kuch teaching dete hain. He gives you teaching in a very soft manner. That is his Kamal. Okay, when we don't listen from that, okay, he tells you, boss, this is what you're supposed to do, this is the right thing to do, right? Now we listen to it, and some of us will learn and we'll say, okay, let's go ahead and do the right thing. Some of us will not learn that way, right? In certain cases, in some cases this works for us, in certain cases it doesn't, right? Yeah, whatever, I don't care, we move on. Then comes the shank. Shank is when he blows his conch. It will have, you will have to listen. Your parents scolding you, somebody shouting at you, something happening such that you wake up from your stupor.
You feel
and
startled.
you feel startled, and you're forced to take cognizance of what are you doing, what actions you're taking. That is his shank, taking you on the right path or showing you the right direction. Sometimes we don't even listen to the shank. Heard it, listened to it, whatever, but then the old habits take over. And despite our best efforts, you're like, yeah, forget it. Like, we move on, we get back into the bad habits again, right? So then comes the Gada. Gada is when he actually hits us, right? For example, exercise, right? All of us experience that. You're told nicely, please exercise, very important. Some of us will listen, others won't. Then somebody is going to shout at you. Something is going to happen that will startle you out. Maybe you see somebody else's sickness. Maybe you go through a small experience yourself, which tells you, boss, I really need to make my life more healthy, right? You don't even listen to that. Then then you're going to get hurt with a Gada. You might end up having either by your own experience or in your close family or friends, something that will really, really hurt you in a major way, emotionally, physically, mentally. That will cause you to take a serious pause in your life and assess what's going on. This is Bhagwan Ji's trying to teach you because you're not listening. Okay. And finally comes the chakra. If you don't even understand after Gada has hit you, that's when the chakra comes. Chakra is when you get into a position where you're left with no choice anymore. In the first three cases, you had a choice. You had a choice to take whatever action. In the fourth case, you come to a situation, your back is at the wall. There is no other way out. There is only and only one way out, which is taking the right path, which is changing your lifestyle. You will be forced into making the right choices. Otherwise, you die. Right? Now, I'm giving the example of health, but you think about it in every other context in your life, right? This can be applied to every context. That's his chakra, which will finally push you into a place where you have no choice but to take that right path eventually. Now you have no more, you are completely beaten down, and you have no more sense of I know better and I will do what I like to do. Okay, that likes and dislike goes out of the picture completely. So this is his way of ensuring that even though he's taken a gamble and it's a calculated risk, he ensures that there are ways to make sure that you stay on the right path eventually. And there's a smattering of things along our way to help us know what is the right path. Okay, reading of scriptures, for example, is his Kamal. He's given us the knowledge right there. This is the right way to live. Whether we listen to it, we imbibe it or not is up to us. And the second part is the detachment. He remains detached and he will love you no matter what you do at the end of the day. So he's detached from whatever end of the day the Jivatma does. And he will watch you make your mistakes. He will not get upset about it. Oh my God, why is he going down this route? I know it goes the wrong way. Oh my God, stop. No, he lets us make our mistakes. Because through those mistakes, we will learn. That's the design. It is designed like that. The world is designed like that. We learn from our mistakes.
Same thing with the Gita, right? Chapter 1, when Arjun is talking and he has this ego and high sounding principles, he's commanding Krishna. Krishna
Take
doesn't do
me to
anything.
the center. He takes no.
He takes him everywhere.
You want to go, I'll take you.
He doesn't speak a word till Arjun says, okay, I'm completely lost. I don't know what is good for me. I fully surrender at you. Please tell me what I should do. That is when he starts speaking. Till then, he's completely detached, even though Arjun's his favorite. Right? Yeah, Sachin, you have a question.
Yeah, actually, you've explained it very beautifully, but I just wanted to understand still that when you say that, when Bhagwanji says that gambling is me, does he also mean that it is a wise, but use your brain when you know what path you take, or is he saying no, I am good gambling, or is he said I'm good and I'm bad everything, but you have to decide how far you go, where to stop?
No. A small nuance there, right? Gambling is an instinct. It's a risk-taking instinct. It's a tool in our stable. Just like a knife in a kitchen is a tool. Now you can use it wrongly, you can use it rightly. And the Purans will tell you this is the right way to use it, right? Your manual will tell you right way to use, the wrong way to use, right way to clean, wrong way to clean, correct? Similarly, risk-taking is an instinct, which he's calling the gambling. Okay, it's an instinct. These are the right ways to do it. These are the wrong ways to use it. And we all do it. We all take risk in our lives in the correct way. And there are times when we fall prey to it, which is the wrong thing to do, which is when we don't use that instinct correctly. Right? Similarly, and that's true for every instinct in this world. There is nothing, as soon as something hits this world, there is no purity. There is duality. There is no unity. Everything comes from two sides of the coin. Even if you take something like kindness, what does kindness mean? Bhagwanji doesn't say you have to be kind in every situation. On the other side, sometimes tough love is the right thing to do. You don't have to be kind and smiley and nice all the time. You will fail in your duty as a parent. You will fail in your duty to yourself. You will fail in your duty as a team leader if you're going to be nice and kind and sweet talking all the time. Those are very important elements to have, but there's a second side to it. When you take it to an extreme, you are unable to follow discipline, you're unable to follow tough love, you're unable to keep things on track. That's why moderation in everything. There is no food in this world that you can just like, I'll just keep having this one food, right? Okay, avocado, kale, they are superfoods. That's all that I'm going to have in my daily life, right? No, everything in moderation. Make sense?
And one more thing, when the Brahmaji's example that you were saying, in Hindi we say Sam, Dam, Dand, Bhed. Does it mean the same in a layman's language?
Yeah. Sam, Dam, Dand, Bhed, although is at a niti level. Okay. And yeah, I mean, this is another of those phrases which can be very poorly used, right? We've seen it being used poorly. Sam, Dam, Dand, Bhed. I don't care if people interpret it as I don't care about the path to the like I don't care about the means as long as I get the end, right? At no point of time Bhagwanji says that, right? For him, your path to your end is as important as the end. In fact, it is more important than the end goal. Okay, but yes, these are tools. Sam, Dam, Dand, Bhed are tools, and you will see Dand as being his representation is going to come in the next couple of shlokas.
Lisa Lakshmi, you have a question?
Yeah. The first, Tuhina said two ways of we can do. The first one is the calculation. The second, I'm not sure what is that.
Detachment.
Oh, detachment. Okay, thank you.
You cannot get attached to the outcome or the bet you're taking. If you are taking a risk in your business, you decide that let's try this product, let's try this marketing strategy, let's try this target market, let's try opening up a new office in a new geographic district. These are all calculated risk business takes with a lot of information that goes into that decision making. And some of these bets will not pay off. You can't continue to stay attached to them. Being detached means that you will evaluate it on the basis of its merits. And when those merits go away, or when you get more information that changes your understanding of the situation, you will close that bet out.
So that is detachment.
That is detachment. Otherwise, if you're attached to it, right, then it becomes, oh, it was my idea.
Right.
Now it becomes you, not an idea that is outside of you. Then it becomes you. You attach it to your identity. And then taking a call on closing that idea out becomes equivalent, psychologically speaking, to your own death. And that's something that you will not do. So you will keep that idea alive no matter what.
Okay.
Even if it is hurting you, right?
Second, splendor. This is the effluent quality is a splendid human being who exercise influence over others with his splendor. It is a divine quality. Supremacy, effect, and perfection. Supremacy connects the state of securing victory over the
Adversaries.
adversaries. Effect connects the practice of untraining extension. Perfection connects the state of being faultless. All three of these qualities lead to perfect done or the attainment of the Lord's sublimity.
So I think splendor is easy to understand, right? I think all of us have experienced it, which is there are some people, all of us have a particular aura, but if a saint walks in, you naturally, as soon as he comes in, even your thoughts will not go into direction about discussing a Netflix show, right? And even if you try to ask him a random question about Netflix or the world or office, it physically wouldn't be able to even form those words. That essence, that aura is Bhagwanji saying, that's me. That aura of that human being. That aura that when you walk in, the whole room moves in that direction. That aura, that subtlety of that splendor is him.
Yeah. So the word for the splendor is a very weak word to really explain. The Hindi word tej has a much deeper meaning to it, right? In a gross form, we call it charisma, right? Charisma. And we say that certain people have charisma, others don't have that much charisma. And as Abhinav mentioned, it is about your aura. How strong is your aura? The stronger the aura, the stronger is your charisma. Charisma essentially refers to your ability to influence people around you. All right? You influence, you move people to see your point of view. You move people, you galvanize people into a certain type of action. People are attracted to you if you have charisma, if you have the right type of happy, good aura. People are attracted to you. And because they are attracted to you, they want to stay associated with you. They want to stay close to you. So they will do anything to stay connected, to stay close to you, which means that they will do things that please you. They will do things to keep you happy, right? And the right use of that charisma leads to greater good, to greater happiness. Okay. Now, at a lower level, as I said, it is charisma.
Just to add to this, right? Who is the person with the greatest charisma and aura? Bhagwanji. And where does he talk about it? This chapter, Vibhuti Yoga.
Yeah.
Right? This entire chapter is that. Look at my charisma, look at my aura in every aspect of being. Oh, sorry, I just wanted to add that.
Go with daddy.
No.
Sorry, a kid is back, so Abhinav needs to take care of him. Okay, so people who are okay, now there are two aspects to this, right? And I'm going to just touch upon it very briefly, right? There are hundreds of self-help books, okay, that will talk about. So there are two types of self-help books that you will read, okay? There is a type that talks about short-term tactics to influence people, okay? Short-term tactics. how you should carry your body, how you should be, eye contact, stuff like that, right? There are lots and lots of small stuff that they'll put together in how to influence people. There are others that will not focus on these short-term tactics. These short-term tactics, by the way, I'm not saying they're wrong, okay? But they will not have a lasting impact, okay? You have to go down to the root. These books will talk about your being, changing your being, not you changing your doing. When you shift your focus from how can I change my doing to how can I change my being, your aura will increase. Changing your doing does not change your aura. Your aura comes from who you are. Are you being a friendly, are you a friendly person? If you are changing your doing, right, at the level of friendship, then you will be a friend to A or B, and you will say, I can't be a friend to C, I can't be a friend to D. If you change your doing to being, right, then you become a friendly person. It does not matter who comes in your sphere of influence, you will be friendly to everybody. Okay, and those type of self-help books will change your character. They will focus on your inner being of who you think, how you be. This is exactly what Gita also talks about, right? And when you read those books now and you try to connect those principles back, you will see the most enduring books, the most enduring movies that have influence, they all have principles that are born of Gita. Those are universal principles. Every good movie in this world touches people and lasts forever because they are based on enduring principles of Gita. They have an aura about them. Okay, and so Bhagwanji says that, and the highest stage will be that of the saints. In the presence of saints, their tej is so strong. Why do we touch their feet? We touch their feet even from far. The very path they walk on, it is imbued with energy, and coming in their contact breaks our vasanas. It takes away. There are things that we are not able to break past. Despite all our effort, coming in front of such saints with their aura, they take away those limitations from us. They break boundaries for us. They break our limitations, allowing us to move forward through their tej, through their aura. It's so strong. Just being in their presence will change the way we think. It will clean the clutter inside of us. That is why saints they are basically Bhagwanji walking and talking on this earth. Okay. So Bhagwanji says that the tej of the Tejasvi, when you see a charismatic person on stage somewhere else, wherever you see a charismatic person, know that that vibhuti comes from Bhagwanji. It is not his characteristic. It is not that person who is amazing. It is Bhagwanji's vibhuti on him. Then the supremacy, right? Victory. The whole Vijay concept, right? Jai, Vijay that we talk of. It is again a vibhuti of Bhagwanji. What is the difference between Jai and Vijay? Do we know? We've talked about it before in the class. Anyone want to take a shot? Jai, Vijay?
Jai is praise, Vijay would be victory.
Vijay, correct. But Jai is victory over oneself. Vijay is victory over the external world. जय से पहले, there is a song in Hindi, right? दूसरों की जय से पहले, दूसरों की जय इज विजय, दूसरों की जय से पहले खुद की जय करें. अगर हम अपने ऊपर जय कर लेते हैं तो दूसरों के ऊपर विजय वैसे ही हो जाती है. And the concept of winning over your adversaries, that quality, that characteristic is Bhagwanji's quality. He has given us the ability to tide over all the trying circumstances, whether these are trying circumstances outside of us or whether these are, to start with, these are issues inside of us. We have a problem of growth. We have a problem of lobe, greedy. We are greedy. We are attached. All of these adversities that are inside of us. 2 KLM 3. Right? The flight that we are never supposed to take. These are the adversaries that sit inside of us. If we win over them, तो बाहर की तो सारी चीजें will get sorted. What is 2 KLM 3? To revise? 2 Ks. Yeah. Go ahead.
Or Maya.
Low and more.
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 Yeah.
Correct. So 2K, Kam, Krodh, absolutely fantastic. Kam, Krodh,
Low and
Lobh. And what are the three M's?
more. Maya and next.
Right.
Moh,
Maya and
Mad,
Mad.
Matsar.
What's that?
So Kam, we all know, desires, right? Kam, Krodh, we all know. Lobh is greediness. Then Moh is attachment. Mad is ahankar. Mad is of three types. Okay, three types of ahankar. One is where we have a certain quality and we feel really proud of it. Okay, that's the first type of ahankar, mad. First type of mad. The second type of mad is we don't have a quality, but we pretend to have it. So we don't even have it in the first place, but we pretend to have it and act very arrogant about it. Okay. The third type of mad is when it comes from things that are external to us. So the first two are internal. The third is when things are external to us and we feel proud of that. We get arrogant because of that, like wealth, status, a community that you belong to, right? So some of these things afford your children. You're proud of your children. You're getting arrogant about their successes. So funny. So these things are the three types of mad that we have. And matsar is jealousy, right? So you see somebody else's success. There are two reactions we have. One reaction is I will also work hard. I will run faster than that person and come first. The other type is I will sit on my couch, criticize and feel jealous of what that person has. And then I will do everything to pull the rug under that person's feet by bad mouthing, by criticizing or doing whatever else I can. Maybe even worse, go and try and, make his life miserable, right? So this is matsar. So these are the type of issues inside of us, the daityas, the demons inside of us. और उनके ऊपर we can win over them. We are supposed to win over them, in fact. In every scripture, every Bhagavad Puran, any Puran you take up, right? There is always a fight between good and the bad. And these are all fights inside of us. And he says, and in everyone, he always has the devas winning over the asuras, right? So that is the concept of victory he's talking about here. The supremacy that he's talking about. That characteristic comes from Bhagwanji. He has given it to us. We get it from him. We are supposed to win over our internal adversaries as well as external adversaries. The next is effort. Effort is basically exertion, right?
On the adversaries.
Yeah.
I've
already covered a lot. So I likely have covered it. The next one is effort. Effort is the practice of basically the exertion that comes. Okay, now what type of effort is he referring to? The type of effort here is tap. Okay, tap. Tap means you undergo effort with happiness. Okay, खाना बनाना है घर में. And there are two ways to do it, right? You're muttering, screaming, shouting, crying, or like, ये नहीं हुआ, वो नहीं हुआ, खाना बना रहे हैं हम, ठीक है? And the other one is very happy कि this is an opportunity Bhagwan Ji has given me to create food, to make food which will nourish the people who will eat it. Two completely different bhav. And this is a tap, right? There is an effort required to cook. Similarly, effort required to do work in office. You can mutter and cry about like this, they are giving me too much work, my boss doesn't listen, da 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 da. Or we can do it happily. We take it on as an opportunity to bring value to my company, right? So the tap he's talking about, first of all, as he's always said, tap is the way to salvation. There is no way you get there. There's no way to get self-realization without tap. And that tap is his characteristic. He's given it. He's given us all the tools required to walk back to him. And tap is one of those tools that he has given us. That?
Yeah. So on effort, the other aspect is, everyone's watched Dilwale Dulhaniya Le Jayenge, right? So in Dilwale Dulhaniya Le Jayenge, when Shah Rukh Khan is in India, right, he's the center of everyone who needs work done. anybody who wants to get stuff done, they will tell Shah Rukh Khan. And that's how he wins everybody's heart. Right?
He'll happily do
He'll
things for
happily
others.
do it, and he'll do it day and night. He's doing something or the other. And that is true for our lives also. You go to a wedding in India, and you have some stuff to do. I need to get my lehenga ironed. Who will you give it to? The guy who is sitting in a corner, or you will give it to the guy who's seen everywhere? You will give it to the second guy, right? Bhagwanji is saying that person who is doing that effort selflessly, that energy he gets is from me. And that is untiring energy, because he's doing it with the right bhav, and the whole world will look at him.
And he will get things done. Even in your office, you will see the most important projects go to the busiest of the people, not to the person who's sitting idle. Because people who are busy and are the ones who are actually getting things done. They know how to plan their time. They know what to delegate. They will figure, they are very resourceful. They will get things done. Busy people always get busier. Idle people always get more and more idle. And they will have hundreds of excuses of why something can't get done. But then again, there is a small element that we must be very aware of. Okay, let's not celebrate effort for the sake of effort. Okay, effort is a rajoguni bhav. If we are in constant state of rajogun, then it is very easy. Rajogun, why is rajogun a problem? Why is rajogun a problem? Because all desires and attachments get attached to a rajoguni person. Supremely easy. You're doing stuff, you will get attached to the results, you will get attached to the way you're getting things done, you will get attached to hundreds of things, and you will have desires, right? There's no detachment if you are living on a rajogun's bal alone. So you cannot depend on rajogun. Effort or rajogun must be managed by satogun. There is a purpose behind why you're doing something. Mindless activity, busy activity, right? There is good work and there is busy work. We are constantly learning how to avoid busy work, right? If any time management book you read, avoid busy work, right? So that is rajogun for the sake of rajogun. When rajogun is directed by satogun, when it is directed by the right purpose, why you're doing and what are you trying to achieve out of it, you will find the most efficient way of getting things done. You will find that maybe there are 10 things I can say no to, and I will only do that 11th thing. Pareto principle, 80%, 80-20 principle comes from this. Okay, so you find the right type of effort, right type of rajogun, right effort, which is guided by the right purpose, the right principle, the right bhav. Satogun in control will then make your rajogun extremely efficient.
So what does Satogun and control mean? I'll just elaborate, and we've digressed here. But Satogun and control basically means, does this activity increase my divinity or reduce my divinity? And if it reduces my divinity, and I'm doing it because I don't want to say no, I want to please somebody else, or it's okay if I overeat, then all of that is Rajogun leading you to Tamas, like the third.
Yeah, Rajogun very quickly leads you to
when
Tamas.
you have to do, and we have to do a lot of action since morning to night. All you need to contemplate is this activity increasing my divinity?
And what will increase your divinity? Your dharma. If you're doing an action because it is your duty to do, then you know Satogun is in order. It is increasing your divinity.
So, for example, having a child, as Shalini Didi told us yesterday, Kavita, having a child is also our desire. It's not our duty. But now that we have a child, when we take care of him, it pleases God. Because we are fulfilling the consequences of that desire to offer it to him.
Right? Yeah, having children is a very basic desire that comes from him, right? That comes from him. Eko ham bahusyami was his desire. The world was born of that desire, right? Desire is the very crux of every creation. So desire to create is also comes from him. But then the thing is, the thing that Shalini was talking about yesterday was more around how quickly we turn our eshnas, our desires, and guard them as duties. Right? And she took the example of child because children is such a close thing to us. We're so attached to our children, and we're constantly doing a lot of stuff for them and calling it our duty. Right? It's one thing that doesn't even enter your mind as you doing something for your child is not your duty. Right? And what she was trying to bring out yesterday was that you start making that distinction of desire versus duty, even in that context. Even there, you will find hundreds of, when you start to nuance yourself there and you start to do manan and chintan, you will discover desire there too, and not just duty. So it was an interesting one where she was challenging us to think. Yeah. Then the last piece is perfection, right? So like he said, that perfection is a state of being faultless. First thing is, there's nothing in this world that is faultless. There's only one perfection, and that perfection is Bhagwanji. Everything else in this world is imperfect, because it is imperfect because it is a part of this world which is full of duality. It is not pure. If it is not pure, how can it be perfect? There is a start date, there is an expiry date to everything in this world. So it cannot be perfect because it is going to change constantly. Perfection means if you achieve perfection, then it stays in that state of perfection. It does not change. But everything in this world is transient and it changes. So it cannot be by definition perfect. But if you see anything that comes close to perfection in that little moment, it is his beauty. It is his vibhuti that you see. You see a perfect rose. It will be that perfect rose with that perfect smell for a very short period of time, and then it will deteriorate away, it will wither away. Right? You see a beautiful scene which seems perfect. Wow, it's a perfect, beautiful moment, right? But that moment will be there. That perfection that you see, those glimpses of perfection, you will see are his vibhuti. And he shows them to us so that we aspire towards it. If we don't even know what it is, then how will we aspire towards it? He shows us those moments of perfection because that is what creates a desire to achieve perfection. And eventually, once we are through our journey of trying to seek perfection in imperfection, we'll eventually, at some stage in our lives, at different parts of journey in our lives, we will start to say, boss, this is all imperfect. Now I want to seek the actual perfection. And then we will start to get onto a journey of self-realization. So it's all part of the plan.
I think we did excellently well on our goal to finish.
11:42. Okay. But we only did 2 shlokas. Wow. Oh my God. Man proposes, God disposes. I was telling Abhinav, maybe we can go through these shlokas really, really fast, and maybe we will finish all the shlokas in this class. Or at least 6. We can definitely do 6 today. Okay. I think we'll close the class here, and would love to do the takeaways now. Who wants to go? Open the ballot.
I think for me, 2 things specifically. First one was the risk taking. Basically, it's still a sublimity of the god. Although I think sometimes we think of gambling. Gambling has a bad connotation with it. So there's a slight nuance. I think that I got aware of that nuance today. And specifically within that 2 things that you said, which is calculation of risks, as well as detachment from outcome. I think calculation of risk, we do it naturally. As long as you're logical in taking risk, taking any risk, you do it naturally. But the second part of it is, which is detachment from outcome, is very difficult. But I think that needs to be done. So that's one takeaway. And the second one was when you said start making distinction between desire versus duty. That was also something I think we need to keep. I think we need to be aware of that in our day-to-day lives, because we were discussing the effort point, and when we think of effort, we generally think of it in good terms. That I mean, I'm working hard because it's just good to work hard. But then with that there is desire as well. because I'm expecting that the outcome will be maybe I'll get a promotion or I'll get a salary raise or whatever it is, right? So again, the same point as first one, which is basically detaching the outcome and doing your duty is important.
Absolutely. But even for effort, right? We have to become smart about the effort as well. Right? Follow 80-20 principle. That Pareto principle is really, really important. Like figure out where the maximum effort, what will create the maximum benefit from the effort you put in.
20% of effort will lead to 80% of results.
Results. So what are that 20%? And that will start to create more space and time in your life instead of doing a lot of busy work. And that time and space, then you start to see, where am I going to put this time and effort? This is where, we talked about chapter 3, Vyavasayatmika Buddhi. Vyavasayatmika Buddhi, single-minded intellect that knows where will I get the maximum value out of the time and effort I put in. And that actually is going to be, ultimately, you will reach that conclusion slowly through your own experience, that it is God's self-realization. And that's when you will start to put more and more effort into that direction. And you will see that it will have an impinging impact on the rest of your life, where you won't leave your other duties behind. Like Gita, in fact, tells you never to do that. You will get everything done in your life that is of importance. There is a lot of unimportant stuff we do, which will go away, and you will become more efficient.
Just to add, right, Anmol, one thing that you said, it's not bad wanting a promotion or a salary increase, right? Don't allow yourself to think like that.
Yeah.
Just two elements. One, don't be attached to it. And second, make the goal larger. Make it for Lok Sangraha. Make it for the fact that the purpose of the company, if I add to it, the company will flourish. And as the company flourishes, naturally, I will flourish. Because Bhagwanji will take care of that.
You're part of the system. If the system does well, you will do well.
And that's, so your motivation and your line of sight should be that. The promotion, the salary increase will just be a natural byproduct for you as well as your team and everybody else.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And again, right, there are times when it feels that your effort and the result that accrues from it, they are not commensurate. Sometimes the result is way more than the effort you put in, and sometimes it is way lesser, right? And that's all part of, like, you may not be able to see it right now, but from a larger point of view, there is a prarabdha that we need to cleanse out as well, right? So it comes from that. There are good things you've done in the past that you will that will fructify in this life. And there are other things that will prevent you from fructifying certain things. But when you start to take that point of view, you will start to be much happier than being attached to specific outcomes. No, ki koi bhi, Bhagwanji is a banker. But Bhagwanji is a banker that never makes a mistake in its bahi khata, your credit and debit. Kuch bhi kar lo. Even if you think somebody's cheated you out of money, somebody's cheated you out of something, he bad-mouthed you in the office, you did all the effort, somebody else got all the credit. Just know that ultimately he knows what will accrue to you. यहाँ से नहीं तो वहां से. आपने कहीं से cheating करके ले भी लिया ना, वो आपके हाथ से निकल जाएगा. Bad, you will have you might end up losing money in litigation, you will end up losing in divorce settlement, you will end up losing money through a bad trade, through bad health. अगर पैसा जो आना है और रहना है आपके पास, वो रहेगा, कहीं ना कहीं से आएगा. एक जगह से आपने सोचा था इधर से आना चाहिए, it didn't come, it will come from second or third or fourth if you need it in this life. Okay. So, and these are the things, when you start thinking like that, it helps you to loosen your attachment to things. It helps you get towards the yagya bhav when you're doing your karma.
Makes sense. Yeah.
Bhagesh, you want to make you're sharing?
Yeah. So about aura, which we talked about, this was so true. I know of few, like 2-3 people who have this untiring energy. I don't know how. Literally, I think, like, how do they manage everything? And those people, they are so spiritual. They are so much into God, and now I know that it's coming from God only in them. So yeah, it's like
Next time there is Ras Leela in Singapore, typically happens or supposed to happen once in 2 years. When it happens, participate in it. And you will see unbelievably how it's such a grand affair and how people get it done on a voluntary basis. It is unbelievable. It's uncanny to see the whole thing come together. And at no point of time, people are ignoring their families or their office obligations. These are people who have tremendous amount of responsibilities on their hands. They are leading organizations, large teams, and they still manage everything. And nobody feels tired. You will start to see a distinction when you participate in how you can be in a space where your body is tired, but mentally you are so fresh and agile. You'll see, oh, wow, I can be this too. But why am I not like this at all times? Can I try and create this experience in everyday life? And you will start to get deeper into your learnings of Gita.
Yeah.
Thank you.
So that, and another thing was about the lotus, Shankh, Gada, and Chakra. So that is what we have experienced. I mean, everyone, I think, experienced, and it's like, yes, situations are given to you. It's up to us, like when we act when like lotus is given to us, or we act when Gada or Chakra is given to us. So no matter what, you have to go through it. We have to decide when do you want to act on it.
Correct. Absolutely.
May I go next? Okay. Actually, there are a lot of takeaways. One thing I really liked is the gambling one, because as you said, it is a calculated and detached risk. So it makes us step out from our comfort zone. So whenever we kind of we come out of the comfort zone, that is where the growth lies. So I really like that takeaway. So, and then how we need to take that risk. And it's very clearly mentioned, calculated and detached with that intellect. So that is the point I wanted to share. And also the first one, it is very beautifully interconnected. The way you guys explained the meter of Vedas, followed by Gayatri mantra, and the season, the Margashirisha, and then the Vasanta. So that interconnection between all these things as a God sublimities. So that was amazing to hear also. Thank you.
Yeah, Vijalakshmi.
Yeah. So my takeaway is today's doing and being, doing how we have to every moment we have to see inner side, whether we are doing or whether it comes from like a being, like naturally from Vibhuti, from the God. So I would like to practice that way, whether I'm either doing or from inside. Is being is not changing, right? Like if whatever persons, like whatever, however they are, you are not changing from inside. So that is being, right? So I would like to practice that.
Very nice, Vijalakshmi. Bhagwanji, Bhagwanji hasn't given us a to-do list. He has given us a to-be list. To-be list, not a to-do list.
So my takeaway, can I share? Sorry.
Yeah, please.
So my takeaway was, of course, there were a lot of takeaways like gambling and as other mentioned. And the last bit also where you mentioned that whatever we have to get, we'll get. And whatever we are not getting is eluding us is because of some reason. But if we take, we are at peace with it, then we can give our full effort to that. It reminded me of a story, a beautiful story, which I read about an elusive tiger, that where we went, somebody goes on a safari and doesn't find a tiger and is very disappointed, comes back and says that, it was a total waste of money and everything and my time. And then he's made to realize by somebody with him that you experienced so many other animals, beautiful animals, nature, everything. But you were looking for that elusive tiger in that safari. So your focus was wrong, and that didn't let you experience the other good things. So if our elusive tiger is a promotion or good health or whatever, and we are not getting it, we have to look surpass that,
So this has come twice, so I'll just comment on this. One, you never experience the world, you experience your mind, right? We are not experiencing the world ever. We're experiencing our states of mind, right? And this was touched upon by Anmol as well, which is when we are so steeped in our body consciousness, when something good happens to us, we think we deserve it. When something bad happens to us, then we feel it's somebody else's fault. But that is whenever that bad moment happens, which is not getting that salary increase that you expected, or not seeing that tiger, and that bhav comes up, that emotion comes up, that moment is perfect, because that's Bhagwanji making you realize that is your vasana. That is what you need to work on. Oh, thank you for showing me how attached I am just to the fact of seeing a tiger.
Correct.
Or for like $1,000 extra in my account.
Your growth only and only and only happens when there is a bad moment, or a perceived bad moment, or a perceived what do you call it, unfavorable situation. But when you start to see those unfavorable situations as moments of growth, which are showing you what you need to work on, what you need to get better at, there will be no unfavorable situations anymore. And when the favorable time comes, know that this too shall pass. There will be another unfavorable moment. This is the time for me to prepare. And then the unfavorable moment is my time to test. If we don't prepare during the favorable times, we will fail the test 100%. You've got to prepare really hard when your work is not that demanding, when you don't have physical health issues, all of those things, when there is no external that much, like we create external pressures on ourselves all the time. We are all super busy people, right? We have no moment of downtime ever. But let's start to define what is a favorable time and unfavorable time, and put all our effort in preparation during the favorable time. Your sadhana should be super high during that time. And when the unfavorable time comes, you will learn what you have. You can see for yourself what you've learned, how you have changed. Because when we squeeze an orange, only orange juice can come out of it. You cannot expect apple from an orange when you squeeze it. So that moment tells you what are your vasanas, what are your ashnas, what do you need to work on. And what have you done? Like you would see a year ago there, this is how I would have dealt with this situation. Look at me now. I'm, dealing with it differently now. You wouldn't know of it in favorable situation. Huh? Everybody can stay happy when the other person is being nice to you. Sachin, you want to connect?
Yeah, for me, I think two things which came out really enlightening. Of course, the way he's comparing himself with the best around makes you feel very humbled, and you also realize the presence in every small aspects, not and the big. You relate to the big more to the smaller, and then you start to realize, okay, this is what may much wider than what it looks like. I think two that came out as a distinction for me was the gambling part. I mean, it always has a negative connotation to it. I remember speaking to one of my family members about stock trading, and you took that example as well. And they said, hey, this is jua. Are you playing that? Because in our religion, that's not allowed. But I think I now have a better understanding of where you draw the line between the jua and the negative notation, and an informed conversation around our risk that we have. So that to me was very enlightening. And of course, the desire versus attachment is a thing that I constantly work on. Desire to grow versus attachment to the end result is where I kind of struggle a lot, right? So that's where I need to strike the balance and understand that how do you cut the two and move on to the next. But then they also talk about you shouldn't have desires left. I'm kind of not able to relate to those discussions of, if I don't have desire, then what am I? I mean, it's a dead being walking around. So desires do constitute the human nature. How do you then distinguish, or I think that's where my journey starts. How do you distinguish that desire to the attachment of the result, and where do you draw the line and say, all right, this is it, let's move on? It is a path that I'm still working on.
I think it's a very important question, and considering we are already at 12 o'clock, I'm not going to take it in this class, but let's start the next class with this question.
Sure.
It is the crux of everything we are reading and doing. So we'll discuss it at the beginning of next class.
Sounds
Thank
good.
you for sharing.
Thank you.
Anita, you want to go next? It's 12.
Yeah, I will keep it short. So the couple of things that I really liked is that effort, the selfless effort, or like effort with the right BBGP. So that way, when you are putting your effort to thought or action or whatever it is, you keep always God in your mind when you do that action. So that one I really kind of enjoyed it. And another thing that you mentioned about perfection, only God is imperfect. Everything in this world is changeable, or there is always a beginning and an end for anything that happens in this world, except for God is there all the time. He's the only one who is that perfection. You call it as a perfection. So that's what I liked all the other things too, like the gambling. So everybody talked about gambling. So I said, you know what, let me pick something different.
Absolutely. When you start thinking of it like that, then you start to realize that you can be so much more empathetic to other people, because then you're not seeking perfection in others. You're not perfect, and please don't search for perfection in others. Similarly, when you're doing your work, good is good enough. You don't have to wait until something is perfect, whether it's a product to go live, whether it is an action that you have to take. You don't have to wait for perfect conditions to take a plunge into whatever you're avoiding or looking forward to doing, right? So a lot of things, if you start understanding perfection that way, you will see how many places the concept of or pursuit of perfection in wrong places where there is no perfection actually creates limitations for us. Naina and Kakuli, can you do 1 minute takeaways, like 30 seconds actually, one sentence each?
Can I go?
Hmm.
For me, the point, as we were talking about perfection, the point of little glimpses of perfection which we get to inspire us to strive for perfection in our journeys, that was interesting. And the connection between Margashira and Vasanta, where you start reckoning with things during the Margashira month, and then the perfection dawns during Vasanta. So that concept was also interesting. Rest, I think, of course, gambling, everybody's spoken about it. So yeah, that was the risk taking, the ability of where to stop, and the calculated risk that comes from divinity. That is which was striking. Yeah, that's about it.
I just want to say that I love that painting, and I love where you sit every week, because every time I look at you, it reminds me of Krishna's Morpunk on his head. And that's exactly how you're seated as well. I love it.
Yeah, I like this place too. Yes. Thank you.
Yes, Kakuli.
Yeah, a very intense class for me, and I'll really try to keep it short, because there were so many takeaways today. The first, as I asked the question, I have really realized, and I'm going to be conscious of seeing him in as much of ordinary as the wow factor when I see the extraordinary and remember the creator. I will skip gambling, detachment. We have already spoken about it. But when you explained about Vishnuji and his 4 forms, and in the Badrika ashram, it's Sri Hari, it's Vishnu. I went back to look at the picture, and one thing I just thought, that this illness which I had, was it the Gada or the Chakra? I don't know, but it steered the direction. It completely changed the course of the direction of my life. And thank you. I'm just going to read through what I wrote again and again. About the 2K L3, I didn't know about it, and thank you for that. And the last thing is the aura. I today got emotional, and because In February, I got a 3 minute with Swamiji, and I had many things. I couldn't even say I surrendered. I was like, that was the intensity when you see someone at that such close distance. And I realized what you were saying, and um, thank you for that. Yeah, and I will just leave the rest of the takeaways for now.
Thank you.
Right, let's do closing.
Yeah, let's do closing shlokas.
ॐ सर्वेषां स्वस्तिर्भवतु सर्वेषां शान्तिर्भवतु सर्वेषां पूर्णं भवतु सर्वेषां मङ्गलं भवतु ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः ॐ सर्वे भवन्तु सुखिनः सर्वे सन्तु निरामयाः सर्वे भद्राणि पश्यन्तु मा कश्चित् दुःखभाग् भवेत् ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः ॐ असतो मा सद्गमय तमसो मा ज्योतिर्गमय मृत्योर्मार् अमृतं गमय ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः ॐ पूर्णमदः पूर्णमिदं पूर्णात् पूर्णमुदच्यते पूर्णस्य पूर्णमादाय पूर्णमेवावशिष्यते ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः ॐ ॐ ॐ